I could just listen to you forever." "It's a pleasure to sing to such a responsive audience," said the mockingbird. "Anytime you'd like to hear it again, just tell me." The bat said, Could. "Yes," said the mockingbird. The bat went on in a shy voice. "Do you suppose that I could?" The mockingbird said warmly, "That you could hear it again? Of course you can. I'll be delighted." And he sang it all over again. This time it was the best of all. The bat told him so, and the mockingbird looked pleased but modest. It was easy for him to look pleased, but hard for him to look modest. He was so full of himself. The bat asked, "Do you suppose a bat could make poems like yours?" "A bat," said the mockingbird, but then he went on politely. "I don't see why not. He couldn't sing them, of course. He simply doesn't have the range. But that's no reason why he couldn't make them up. Why, I suppose, for bats, a bat's poem would be ideal." The bat said, "Sometimes when I wake up in the daytime, I make up poems. Could I wonder whether I could say one of my poems?" The queer look came over the mockingbird's face, but he said cordially, "I'd be delighted to hear one. Go right ahead." And he settled himself on the branch with a listening expression. The bat said, "A shadow is floating through the moonlight. Its wings don't make a sound. Its claws are long. Its beak is bright. Its eyes try all the corners of the night. It calls and calls. All the air swells and heaves and washes up and down like water. The ear that listens to the owl believes in death. The bat beneath the eaves. The mouse beside the stone are still as death. The owl's air washes them like water. The owl goes back and forth inside the night, and the night holds its breath." When he finished his poem, the bat waited for the mockingbird to say something. He didn't know it, but he was holding his breath. "Why, I like it," said the mockingbird. "Technically, it's quite accomplished. The way you change the rhyme scheme's particularly effective." The bat said, "It is?" "Oh, yes," said the mockingbird, "and it was clever of you to have that last line 2 feet short." The bat said blankly, 2 feet short? "It's 2 feet short," the mockingbird said a little impatient. "The next to the last line's iambic pentameter, and the last line's iambic trimeter." The bat looked so bewildered that the mockingbird said in a kind voice, "An iambic foot has 1 weak syllable and 1 strong syllable. The weak one comes first. That last line of yours has 6 syllables, and the one before it is 10. When you shorten the last line like that, it gives the effect of the night holding its breath." "I didn't know that," said the bat. "I just made it like holding your breath." To be sure," said the mockingbird. "I enjoy your poem very much. When you've made up some more, do come around and say me another." The bat said that he would and fluttered home to his rafter. Partly he felt very good. The mockingbird had liked his poem, and partly he felt just terrible. He thought, "Why, I might as well have said it to the bats. What do I care how many feet it has? The owl nearly kills me, and he says he likes the rhyme scheme." He hung there upside down, thinking bitterly. After a while, he said to himself, "The trouble isn't making poems. The trouble is finding somebody that will listen to them." Before he went to sleep, he said his owl poem over to himself, and it seemed to him that it was exactly like the owl. "The owl would like it," he thought, "if only I could say it to the owl." And then he thought, "That's it. I can't say it to the owl. I don't dare go near him. But if I made up a poem about the chipmunk, I could say it to the chipmunk. He'd be interested." The bat got so excited his fur stood straight up and he got warm all over. "I'll go to the chipmunk and I'll say, 'If you give me 6 crickets, I'll make a poem about you.' But I'd really do it for nothing. But they don't respect something if they get it for nothing. I'll say, 'For 6 crickets, I'll do your portrait in verse.'" The next day at twilight, the bat flew to the chipmunk's hole. The chipmunk had a dozen holes in it. The chipmunk had dozens of holes, but the bat had noticed that there was one he liked best and always slept in. Before long, the chipmunk ran up, his cheeks bulging. "Hello," said the bat. The instant he heard the bat, the chipmunk froze. Then he dived into his hole. "Wait, wait!" the bat cried. The chipmunk had disappeared. "Come back!" the bat called. "I won't hurt you." But he had to talk for a long time before the chipmunk came back, and even then he just stuck the tip of his nose out the hole. The bat hardly knew how to begin, but he timidly said to the chipmunk, who was listening timidly, "I thought of making this offer to the animals of the vicinity. You're the first one I've made it to." The chipmunk didn't say anything. The bat gulped and said, "For only 6 crickets, I'll do your portrait in verse." The chipmunk said, "What are crickets?" The bat felt discouraged. I knew I might have to tell him about poems, he thought, but I never thought I'd have to tell him about crickets. He explained they're little black things you see on the porch at night by the light. They're awfully good, but that's all right about them. Instead of crickets, you could give me, well, this time you don't have to give me anything. It's an introductory offer. The chipmunk said in a friendly voice, I don't understand. I'll make you a poem about yourself, said the bat, one just about you. He saw from the look in the chipmunk's eyes that the chipmunk didn't understand. The bat said, I'll say you a poem about the owl, and then you see what it's like. And that's where we're supposed to stop for lesson 107. The chipmunk has feet. I'm sorry, a poem has feet.